Welcome to the Not Old Better Show Prevention Magazine Healthy Living interview series on radio and podcast. The show covering all things health, wellness, culture, and more. The show for all of us who aren't old, we're better. Each week, we'll interview superstars, experts, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, all related to this wonderful experience of getting better, not just older. Now, here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
Welcome to the Not Old Better Show on radio and podcast. This is our Prevention Magazine Healthy Living interview series. I'm Paul Vogelzang, and today we're talking about wellness, that slippery word that promises everything from glowing skin to eternal youth if only you drink the right mushroom powder or track your REM cycles with a $400 ring. If you've ever asked yourself, why do I keep buying turmeric lattes and collagen gummies when I already know sleep and walking are free, this episode is for you. Our guest today is Amy Larocca, a longtime journalist, fashion editor, and author of the sharp, smart, and very funny new book, How to Be Well: Navigating the Self-Care Epidemic, One Dubious Cure at a time. Amy Larocca brings the receipts, and I mean that literally. She's tried the detoxes, worn the trackers, counted the steps, journaled her gratitude, and still ended up asking the same question so many of us have asked in front of a glowing ring light mirror. Is all this wellness making us any healthier or just a little more nuts? With Amy Larocca's signature mix of humor, honesty, and razor-sharp cultural commentary, Amy pulls back the curtain on a $3.7 trillion, that's right, trillion-dollar industry built largely on insecurity, social media, and some very expensive essential oils. And while the book focuses mainly on women who bear the brunt of these trends, there's plenty here for anyone who's ever tried to buy their way to better health and found themselves just exhausted. I'm right there with you. This is a conversation about what it really means to take care of ourselves, especially as we age, and how to stop chasing wellness fads that overpromise and underdeliver. Spoiler alert, it might involve less detoxing, more sleeping, and a healthy dose of skepticism. So, everybody, grab a green juice or black coffee and stick around. You won't want to miss this. Here's my interview with Amy Larocca. Amy Larocca, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Good. Well, I'm happy. I'm smiling ear to ear in talking to you. I've, of course, had your book, How to Be Well: Navigating the Self-Care Epidemic, One Dubious Cure at a Time is the title. And I've loved it. It's funny. It's eye-opening. I tend to be kind of a health, kind of person. I love to watch my vitamin intake. I'm somebody who exercises quite a bit. And so I pay attention to wellness, and you're writing about that. And so I wonder, are you writing about wellness, or are you writing about not falling apart? Because it's really just this wonderful combination of subjects. And I feel like I'm drawn in for all of those reasons. But tell me, what's your intention?
Well, all of it, really.
Yeah.
I'm writing about wellness. I'm writing about not falling apart. And really what I'm trying to do is help people navigate this wild, weird world, and understand what's coming at us and how to pick and choose your way through all of everything that's out there, because there's a lot, right? There's a ton of cures and products and services that are being marketed under this giant umbrella called wellness. And they're expensive and they're time consuming and they're competing for your time and your money. And it would be easy to spend every day and every dollar on the pursuit of being better.
Yeah.
And is
Easy.
that a great idea?
Yeah.
Unclear, right? So how are you gonna do this and keep your sanity and do things that are worth your time, worth your money, and, hopefully make you feel good and enjoy that you can enjoy while you're doing them and are gonna actually have some benefit to you and not make you feel like a sucker.
Yeah.
And also, while you're getting there, kind of understand where these things come from, why we as a culture are so susceptible to them right now, what's going on in our world that this is such a huge phenomenon, what's going on in our country, what's going on in our culture. So it's really trying to come at it really in a 360 way and not take ourselves too seriously in the process.
Which I love. I love that about
Yeah.
the book. Absolutely. And your work. Congratulations on all of
Thank
this.
you. Thanks.
Absolutely. I felt like in reading it, as a man reading it, I'll gender this just a second.
For sure.
I felt like it was written definitely with me in mind, but more female oriented, which works
Yeah.
well for our audience. About 65% of our audience is female, so the book is ideally suited to all of us. But in particular, because you said just a moment ago, your answer was, where is this all coming from? Well, it
Yeah.
all really has been kind of pointed at women over the years, and
That's right.
women, yeah, I wonder, are we?
Yeah, wellness tends to a lot of wellness businesses describe a clientele that skews about 80-20
Uh-huh.
female male.
Yeah.
One there is a whole section in the book that's about men, and that tends to be s to do with this new crazy frontier called biohacking,
Yeah.
and that is a very emergent, aspect of the wellness industry that tends to be more male than female. My background is as a fashion editor, and so that's an angle that I bring to this, which is kind of where the book started, which is the marketing of health as a luxury good, which is how I came to this topic. I started to notice after all these years covering the fashion industry that suddenly health was being sold using a lot of the same techniques and language and ideas that fashion has traditionally used to sell products to women. And that was the beginning premise for the book. So it's going to skew a lot. It's going to skew very female. It, a lot of wellness comes from the beauty industry, from the weight loss industry, and those things tend to be female. For men, it has to do with health, with strength, and with longevity.
Mhm.
But because wellness is very connected to how you look, and because women have traditionally carried the burden of looking great, and for men, bigger signifiers of status have had to do with other markers of achievement
Mhm.
more than looking good, being thin, being fit. It's not traditionally been as focused or marketed to men. That's also changing. I think in a culture where social media and image play such a huge part, men are definitely much more conscious of how they look, how they want their bodies to look, how they want their grooming, their style, their fashion to look. And men are much less immune to those pressures than they have been, I think, ever before in history. So men are much more in on wellness. They want the skin, they want the hair, they want the bod. So definitely, men are much more vulnerable to these types of marketing and these types of protocols and regimens, and they're doing the diets. And there was like, what's the latest thing I think for men is the Dorito body, where they want to have the big shoulders and the tiny waist and
Yeah, yeah.
all of that. Many more like young boys are going to the gym at a younger age and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we're on the heels of the Met Gala, and I wonder,
Oh, yeah.
so as a fashion writer, as a, devotee of all things, beauty and
Yeah.
all of this, was there a moment that really struck you? Was it just this buildup, kind of this just gentle trajectory up to this point where you realized, we're kind of at this point at
Yeah, we're
the
kind of
Met
at this point.
Gala where its performance are? Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, and I think it was in about 2015, I wrote a cover story for New York Magazine about the Met Gala really picking up steam. And I went behind the scenes as they prepared for the Met Gala. And I went week by week. I was in Anna Wintour's office as she worked out the guest list. I was with the florist in New Jersey for months. I mean, I really went with them the whole way through. And at that point, it was popular and people outside of fashion were becoming interested, but it was nothing like it is now. Like all things, once you could live stream that red carpet
Yeah.
and people could feel a bit like they were there, the whole thing just changed. It's a lot like all fashion shows. Once people at home could experience it as if they were there, and that's down to the live stream,
Mhm.
the audience just exploded. It's different than looking at the photographs the next day in the paper. It just is.
Yeah.
Once you're minute by minute by minute, the whole experience is just different. People feel included. And that's when the outfits get more outrageous, the competing, the one-upping. Because, if you're going to be flipping through a newspaper the next morning and see the Bill Cunningham photographs of the elegant socialites on the steps, you're just not going to have that level of one-upmanship that you are if it's live streaming and it's like, here comes someone. And oh, you don't want that camera to linger because someone just showed up in a box. And,
Right. I saw
which happened.
I saw the box, yes. It's all really fun, and you do kinda skewer, all of this a little
Yeah.
bit, but I wonder as you tried some of these various procedures, was there one that just jumped out at you and said, there
This
might be
is
something
good.
here?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I have asked this a lot.
Yeah.
So the people don't like that my main answer is that I'm an absolute glutton for sleep, and now I never feel
Okay.
sorry about it.
Yeah, right.
And
Me neither.
someone just asked me, "Well, does that mean you like to sleep a lot at once or you like to nap?" And my answer is yes. I like to do all of the above. So I think rest is the most important thing in terms of actual stuff you can do. I'm like the world's biggest believer in Pilates.
Mhm.
I don't mind a cold plunge,
Mm, mhm.
but I'm also going to say I'm a big fan of DIY replacements. You can just turn that hot water off at the end of your shower. And if you can bear it, let that cold water run over you.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
You can do these things at home. I'm really not a fan of supplements. I really think nutrition should come from food rather than supplements.
Mhm.
Um, I am not a fan of anything invasive, of colonics. For example, I'm not a fan of food group elimination. So paleo diets, keto diets. I really am, after all this research, after trying all this stuff, very, very, very dull. Whole foods, sleep, water, fresh air, movement. Um, and I think that's a really unsatisfying answer for a lot of people. And as I write in the book, like, I feel like everyone wants me to come up and whisper, it's ashwagandha or something. Everybody wants the keys to the kingdom. And I think, sort of boringly, it's really the boring stuff. Get your checkups. It's get your sleep, drink your water, take the time off, get the rest, connect with your family, love your people. Just really try to cut out the noise. Try to cut out the endless seeking the golden bullet and be consistent and be a little dull. There isn't really a magic bullet, is I think the thing that you realize in the end is there aren't the simple answers you want there to be. The thing with supplements is once you start reading, food absorption is complicated. And the best way to get your vitamins and your minerals and everything you need and for your body to use them is through a balanced diet. And can I explain to you why? I'm not, an organic chemist. But I know enough and I've learned enough to know that absorption is really complicated process. And the best thing you can do for your body is eat really well, skip the processed foods, eat the whole foods, eat the best foods you can afford, rest as much as you can. And it's really those dull things. That said, engage in as much of the fun stuff as you want.
Mm.
You know, like have a good time. If the class looks fun, do the class. If the facial looks fun, get the facial. If you want to go in the cold pool or go in the fridge or whatever else, do it. It's all a good time, but don't expect the miracle cure. The really, 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 the pillars of wellness are the repetitive, boring things that you do day in and day out.
That's so helpful. It's a wonderful answer. It's the truth, and I think that goes a long way. I think we're so governed, and you write about this too, that there's just this amazing level of fear that is
Oh, yeah.
projected. Yeah, and so that fear trumps. It just is almost as though the industry wouldn't exist if it weren't for some fear.
And I think, like, especially for me, that really kicked in when I became a mother. I definitely started taking all of like the fear aspect because it's one thing when you're, a kid or, for me, it was like, I was in my 20s and I was in New York and I was like, yeah, I'll try this, I'll try that, I'll go on the juice cleanse, I'll do whatever. Like, I was just like, whatever. And I didn't really take any of it seriously. And you don't really take your health that seriously when you're younger, of course, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I'll do this. Yeah, I'll do that. And you never even think like, I remember I would go, all I really thought about when I did anything for so-called health when I was in my 20s was am I going to look good? Right?
Mm,
Like,
mm, mm,
is this going to make me look good? Am I going to look good in that dress when I go out? Am I going to look good this summer when we all go to the beach? Or it never even occurred to me, like, is this good for my heart? Is this good for my health? And I think a lot of people in their 20s, maybe more now, but I don't think you're thinking that way, right? Like, I don't think you're thinking or you weren't. And I wasn't, I won't speak for anyone else. I wasn't thinking about my health. I was thinking about the way these things were going to make me look, frankly.
mm,
And I started to think about it a bit more as I got older, but it was really when I had kids. And especially like my younger daughter was really unwell when she was born. And I just felt this like crushing responsibility. And I felt this responsibility about every choice I made for them, for me, for our whole family. What was I bringing into the house? What were we eating? What was I feeding them? What was I doing? It was like suddenly these choices just felt so big and so important. And then, of course, that makes you as a consumer incredibly vulnerable, right? Like you can sell a new mother anything
mhm,
if you tell them it's going to keep their family safe,
mhm,
And I think that's like, there's a lot of fear. And especially now, right? Like the world is berserk.
mhm,
And that is a big part of how wellness sells us things is toxins, toxins, toxins. It's toxic. And this is cleaner than that. And that's really filthy. And I can't believe that you're using this. And I can't believe you're using that. And you can really go down a rabbit hole, right? You can really, really spiral. Um, last week there was a report in the New York Times about the microplastics. And the image they used was that we all have microplastics, enough microplastics in our brains at this point that it could make they said two things. It could either make a plastic spoon like the kind you get at like a deli, like if you were getting an oatmeal from a deli and they give you plastic, or 5 bottle caps. But somehow for me, it was like I really went with the plastic spoon. And I was just walking all day, like picturing, where's my spoon? Is it over here? Is it over there? By my ear? Like, And I was like all day, I was like walking around the city and I was like, oh, where's my spoon? Where's his spoon? How's his spoon angled? Like I was like looking at people on the train being like, I wonder where her spoon is. And, it can really make you like very crazy. And of course, once you get into that fear mindset, like you're extremely vulnerable to all this marketing
Mm.
and you'll basically buy or do anything. So I think it's like, you have to remember that there's a lot you can control and there's a lot you can't control. And trying to stay sane within that. Like, we
Yeah.
don't all actually have a plastic spoon in our head.
Yeah.
Like, just you got to get through the day.
Right. Right. Our guest today is author Amy Larocca, who has written the wonderful new book, How to Be Well: Navigating the Self-Care Epidemic, One Dubious Cure at a Time. I love that title. The book is wonderful. It's getting great reviews. We're going to link so that our audience can find out more about Amy and her work, as well as her new book, How to Be Well. I guess I want to ask you the question that you probably have been asked a lot too, and that's the socioeconomic question about privilege. Are we substitute? Is this just now wellness wrapped up as a luxury item and not available to so many? And maybe not even, especially as you describe this as being kind of more simpler approach. Get the rest, eat right. Are we missing something here for our whole population and just kind of framing it as a luxury pursuit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Hmm.
That was one of the big lessons of COVID. When COVID hit, who got sick and who died?
Hmm.
Was the wealthy. And that was really chilling. Um, and yeah, we're missing something enormous in this country
Hmm.
about who health is for and who's entitled to good health. And that we do sell and package health as a luxury product is, I think, something really dangerous. And I did work on this book before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. And the truth is, I wrote 2 books. I wrote a book before COVID that I finished in March 2020. My publisher and I put it on the shelf and said, uh-oh. And I ended up trashing that entire book and writing a new one.
Wow.
And because I treated it very lightly, that health was being treated as a luxury commodity. And then I realized it's not light. It's a little bit dangerous. Health shouldn't be a luxury commodity. And I think COVID really showed us what a dangerous proposition it is to treat health like a luxury product, like a handbag, basically. And when I say things like get the rest, eat the whole foods, I understand that those are not things that are necessarily available to everyone. And COVID laid that really bare.
Well, again, congratulations on this wonderful book. We're so glad that you
Yeah.
finished.
Thank
And
you so
again,
much.
How to Be Well. Yeah, it is just wonderful. Just a couple of kind of final questions for you, Amy LaRocca. Eh, What would you say to our audience of older adults, specifically again skewed towards females, about this idea that this approach to wellness? Knowing what you know now is empowering. It
Mhm.
really is freeing. It's giving us all this sense that we can do this as opposed to a wellness approach that is oldly luxury related.
Yeah, I think it is really freeing. And I think it is really important. Here's what I come away from this whole process thinking. Number one, I'm not trying to get back to an earlier version of myself. And I think that is, oh dear, oh no, I'm sorry. Should we just start that all over again?
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
yeah.
Go right ahead. Yeah, pick it up. It's fine. I'll edit.
I think one of the most important things is coming away, for me, has been coming away from the whole process of writing this book with the knowledge and the understanding that so much of this, and this is important for me as I get older. I'm turning 50 this year. And thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
And I think I realized so many of these things have been every important milestone you reach as a woman is accompanied by people promising to help you get back to yourself. You have a baby? I'm going to help you get back
Mhm.
to your pre-baby body. Oh, you're approaching menopause? Let's get you back. And started to get really annoyed. Like, well, I don't think I can. I have a baby now, or
Mhm.
I'm turning 50. I'm not going to get back. There's no going back.
Right.
then after that thinking, well, maybe I don't want to. Not only is it not possible, but what if I don't want to? And really starting to resent the idea that people keep telling me that they can help me get back. And what an annoying thing that is. And wouldn't it be nice if someone said, welcome, isn't this great? Rather than let's get you back. And how difficult and how frustrating it is to continually be told, here's the magic powder that's going to return you to your previous self. And what a reductive and horrible way that is to think about life and aging. And what I'm choosing to take away from this is, why do you want to go back? These are wonderful new phases of you and wonderful new phases of your life. And we have to stop thinking about them as things that need to be scrubbed away and erased. And rather, they need to be new phases that you're entering with joy and with optimism and excitement. And wellness doesn't have to only be the process of fighting them and fighting them off. And rather, it can be the process of like happily entering new eras. And as the best version of the new you, rather than clutching desperately to like previous versions of yourself. And that's something I've really tried to take away from this whole project. I would be perfectly fine never being told or sold the idea that someone can get me back. Like, what does that even mean? So that's something I'm really trying to take away. And that I hope that your listeners, my readers, can maybe take away from this idea is like, you don't have to get back to anything. Like, the earth spins forward. Let's go in that direction. It's not a failure if you only go forward.
So well said. Amy Larocca, our guest today, author of just an excellent book, How to Be Well Navigating the Self-Care Epidemic, One Dubious Cure at a Time. Again, we'll have links so that our audience can find out more information about Amy and all of her work in this wonderful book. I love that. Told and not sold. I really think that's just a wonderful, inspiring message, Amy. We'd love to have you back, too, just selfishly.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah, we would love to have you back as you do more work on this. So thank you for your time. Have a great rest of the day. This has been so generous of you. We appreciate it. Congratulations on the work. Go, go, go.
Thank you for having me. I'm really, really grateful.
My thanks to journalist, fashion editor, and author Amy Larocca for joining us today about her wonderful new book titled How to Be Well, Navigating the Self-Care Epidemic, One Dubious Cure at a Time. You'll find lots of information about Amy Larocca, her new book, and all of her work in our show notes today. Please check out the links. Also, check out our wonderful rest of our episodes. You can find us on social media. You can find everything about us at notold-better.com. Lots of places online, including radio, so check us out there too. But most of all, please be well, be safe. Let's talk about better. The Not Old, Better Show, Prevention Magazine Healthy Living series on radio and podcast. Remember, everybody, we will see you next time. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Not Old Better Show, Prevention Magazine Healthy Living interview series on radio and podcast. To find out more about all of today's stories or to view our extensive back catalog of previous shows, simply visit notold-better.com. Join us again next time as we deep dive into some of the most fascinating real-life stories from across the world, all focused on this wonderful experience of getting better, not just older. Let's talk about better. The Not Old Better Show, Prevention Magazine Healthy Living interview series on Community Radio.